I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe their narrative about the January 6th pipe bomber for a second. And Dan Bongino told myself and several other members of Congress just this week in Washington, D.C., that when this story breaks about the January 6th pipe bomber, what really happened, it's going to be the biggest scandal in Washington, D.C.'s history.
So that's somebody important. And just a heads up, that building behind is the Democratic National Committee's headquarters. So, we're close by to something cool. We're just not going to be privy to see it.
Wonder who that is.
Your theory of the case here.
Well, it's great to be back here on the War Room and to speak to this highly informed audience. And, we've all taken this ride together. The entire Fedsurrection story, bit by bit, pillar by pillar, we've demolished for years now right here on the War Room, and things are coming to a head. Things are culminating. We're at the final stages of utterly collapsing this Fedsurrection narrative of January 6th. And before I get into the really explosive developments on this case, I want to just say a little bit about what the stakes are and why this is important. This is not something that the Democrats have moved on from. Quite the contrary, Joe Biden made this a major part of his speech. He gave a over hour-long speech on the third anniversary of January 6th. The sham theory that Trump instigated this insurrection, which wasn't even an insurrection, but the sham theory behind that is the legal basis on which they're trying to remove Trump from the ballot, because they see that he's by far the front runner for 2024. If they don't employ extracurricular means to stop him and to stop the democratic process, they're going to have Trump in the White House again, and that's the last thing they want. I've said for years now that these corrupt scumbags are going to do everything in their power to make sure that the American people can never meddle in their own elections again. And January 6th and the lies surrounding it are the chief instruments of them doing that. So I think it's important to understand that these are the stakes. And this is what's going to happen when this entire narrative crumbles in their face. There is a video that we've been discussing that is now, it's gone mega viral. It's the subject of this piece in American Mind. It's a video of the DNC pipe bomb being discovered. And I encourage people, go to revolver.news, watch the video. And follow along, because right away, just as a self-contained issue, it's clear that something is very, very rotten. If not in Denmark, then on Canal Street, right by the DNC, because you see a guy in a backpack walking up to the Secret Service that's parked outside of the DNC, informs the Secret Service that there's a pipe bomb just feet away, and the Secret Service acts with utter lack of concern. Takes them over a minute to even get out of their vehicles, at which point they just linger around in the most lackadaisical fashion imaginable. They don't do anything. In fact, the biggest scandal of this video is they actually allow a group of children to cross the street in the direction of the pipe bomb and walk within feet of it. They're standing around unconcerned. They allow children to walk within feet of the pipe bomb. A Capitol Police officer walks right up to it, snaps a picture, gives a thumbs up sign, and then for the first time in the whole 7-minute video clip, they actually hustle and get the heck out of there. But they don't hustle when they're informed of the bomb. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about their protectee, Kamala Harris, and we'll get into that shortly. They don't even care about these children. It's clear they know that the bomb is fake. They know it's a dud. The only question is, how would the Secret Service know that this bomb that was just discovered was fake? How would they know that? And then once they all leave, I've spoken to people who've seen the extended video, which is not public yet, and we're hoping to make it public. But just minutes after they all scramble to leave, they defuse the bomb with a bomb-safe robot. So the bomb that was so benign that they weren't worried about it for Kamala, for themselves, or for children, they have to get a bomb-safe robot to give the spectacle that this is actually a danger. clear they know that it's fake. Not a word about this junior analyst and not a word about this remarkably specific prediction that aligned perfectly with the pipe bomb scenario. Why would they forego the opportunity to remind the public of this dangerous MAGA pipe bomb, for one? And why would they forego the best example of Harvin's alleged clairvoyant powers, or at least the powers of his local office that they're trying to trump up in relation to the federal offices? So that's another very bizarre thing about his victory tour. Now, of course, if you dig into his history, he is as never Trump as they come. He wrote an op-ed saying that Trump is the number one national security threat in the country. In fact, he explicitly said Trump is more of a national security threat than China. He actually said this. This is the guy whose office made this amazing prediction in relation to the pipe bomb that happened to.
Hang on. He said this as a federal employee when Trump was commander in chief. He said it at the time.
Let me check the date of this. It might have been when he retired. Let's see.
The place
in real time.
The place is infested. See, this is the problem. This is why you got to
This was in 2023. So he is retired at this point, but speaking as a Homeland Security expert and educator with over 30 years of public safety service. And something tells me that this is not a new position, that he held these views about Trump when he was in office as well. And that might have inflected the way he did his work. But he has a very extensive record of anti-Trump commentary, to the point of saying Trump's even more of a threat than China. When Trump was indicted, he said the only truth here is that it was a very good day. And it's not just Trump. He's, of course, anti-Tucker. He was fuming when Tucker released some of the January 6th tapes. He's, of course, anti-Musk. He was fuming that Elon Musk shared a meme of Pepe the Frog. I'm not kidding. And he touts the ADL, which deems Pepe the Frog and the OK symbol as a hate sign. And he endorses that, too. He says the OK symbol is a hate sign. He uses that to attack George Santos. And, of course, we wouldn't be complete without a reference to you, Steve. He wishes you a lovely time in prison. He says, quote, wishing you well in the clank, Steve. What a charming guy. And then finally, just for good measure, I'm sorry to those who saw this, but he put a tweet out of him getting a pedicure, which is absolutely disgusting. So I just put that there just to emphasize what a disgusting guy this is. But this is a never Trump radical in the deep state who thinks that Trump is the number one national security threat, even greater threat than China. This is the guy who has the clairvoyant powers to predict that January 6th would be a mass casualty event in advance. Despite that, he puts a junior analyst on the case, and that junior analyst happens to predict almost exactly the pipe bomb scenario. Then the last part.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last part of the piece, which again, everyone needs to go and read. This is a major piece. If people have been following along, the previous piece was about Ashton Benedict, who we know very, very with high level of conviction that this is a cover-up guy, Ashton Benedict. Now we have what could be another piece in Donnell Harvin. Now, the interesting thing about Harvin is his office was in this emergency management community. His office did a lot of business with an organization called FirstNet, which is responsible for broadband services for first responders. Now, and in fact, people in his office have explicitly praised FirstNet for its function on January 6th. Now, here's the interesting thing. The random pedestrian who first discovered the bomb near the RNC, 17 hours the bomb was undiscovered. The random pedestrian who found that bomb at the precise minute that was aligned with the certification vote and the unfolding attack on the Capitol, her name is Carlin Younger. She was a FirstNet employee. So it's very interesting that Donnell Harvin, who made the most remarkable prediction about the pipe bomb, he's in this same emergency management world as the woman who discovers it.
We got to bounce. I know you got to bounce. Where do people go to get this article, sir? We got about 20 seconds.
Culver.news. Read this, share it. This is a major puzzle piece. We're in the end game.
One bomb was placed at the bench at the DNC and the other in an alley by the RNC. Neither bomb was concealed. Does this bomb that was sitting under a park bench look at all like they were trying to hide it? Okay, so here's what happened. Pipe bombs were placed between 7:30 and 8:30. Now let's skip ahead to the next day. At 12:40 it's found. 9 minutes later, they alert the Capitol Police. Pipe bomb found. At 12:50, 1 minute later, the crowd arrives at the Capitol. Whoa. So this was something that was planned there. I mean, they put it there with a 1-hour kitchen timer the night before, and it was stuck with 20 minutes to go off, which they tell us that is scheduled for 1 p.m. That means the RNC pipe bomb frozen for exactly 20 minutes before the big vote. That's damning, huh? Especially considering that the bomb had a 1-hour timer and it was placed at 8 p.m. the night before. Wow. So the bomb, if legit, would have to go off the night before, about 9 p.m., January 5th. How's that a diversion? It's not physically even possible. She's at the Capitol. She decides to leave at 11:30. They find the pipe bomb at 12:40. At 12:49, the Capitol Police. At 12:50, they breach the Capitol. She's still here eating cookies or, I don't know, freshening up her makeup, whatever she does. And then at 1:07, they find the pipe bomb outside of the building. And then they had to get her out of there. And you know how the FBI moves. You know, you find a bomb in a building and the vice president is there. Oh, man, that could take 7, 10, 12 minutes before you get her out of that building, you know. So was the bomber just lucky that all of this unfolded at the exact and perfect time possible?
May I ask, was the TV on? Did someone say, Madam Vice President-elect, you got to see this, come? How did that unfold?
I was at the Capitol that morning, and then I was in a meeting, and I was told that I should leave. And then I was taken to a secure location with my husband. We watched in horror.
Who is responsible on January 6th? Who was responsible for the health and well-being of the incoming vice president?
Of the incoming?
This would be Senator Kamala Harris at the time. She was under the protection of them.
Well, obviously, Secret Service.
Correct, the Secret Service. So where was she on January 6th while all this was going on over at the Capitol?
I don't know.
Do you know there were pipe bombs allegedly present on January 6th?
I know there were 2 pipe bombs, one at the Democratic headquarters and one at the Republican.
So you're in charge of the entire investigation of what happened on January 6th and what led up to January 6th, and you don't know that the vice president was in the incoming vice president was in the DNC when that pipe bomb was sitting there.
I don't, you know, we did not, our investigation was looking at the facts and circumstances. We knew that there were pipe bombs. I'm sure the evidence will say she was wherever she is, but, you know, I'm trying to get to your point.
Okay, well, my point is, if this bomb had gone off just a few feet from her, this could have been the worst assassination since JFK. And I looked at your January 6th report, and can you tell me what you wrote about this pipe bomb and the fact that she was almost blown up that day?
The gentleman,
Not right now.
No, it's in the report in terms of the submission. It's not in the 850-page document.
So you guys your committee did investigate the pipe bomb or did not investigate the pipe bomb?
Well, I'm trying to figure out, we're not a criminal investigation. we are, we were an oversight body looking at the facts and circumstances. We were not a criminal body to see who laid the bomb or anything like that.
Okay, I'll give.
But he was putting out a feeler for questions. Send this to Brett. I'm going to send it to. I think we need to find out why Kamala Harris hasn't told us what she was up to at the DNC on January 6th with the pipe bomb. Here is one of the few interviews she's ever given where she's even mentioned the day. And I want you to notice here, hat tip Julie Kelly, how she implies here that she was at the Capitol when the insurrection, air quotes, went down. She wasn't. Why is she lying? Brett should ask her this. Check this out.
May I ask, was the TV on? Did someone say, Madam Vice President-elect, you got to see this, come? How did that unfold?
I was at the Capitol that morning, and then I was in a meeting, and I was told that I should leave. And then I was taken to a secure location with my husband. We watched in horror.
You did not. You may have watched in horror, but you were not at the Capitol, Kamala Harris. Julie Kelly has an amazing tweet about this. Here's an angle she notes on Kamala Harris's role on January 6th. No one mentions her being there the entire day at the DNC where the pipe bomb was found. Why? I'm telling you why. And Brett can get to the bottom of it. Because the pipe bomb was plan A. That was going to be a distraction to stop people from questioning the vote count and to shut it all down. They didn't need it when the breach at the Capitol happened. So they're desperately trying to make the story go away. And Kamala Harris either knew about it or was told later. That was the original plan. Pipe bomb. Everybody stop talking about the election. These MAGA people are trying to kill us. Julie notes, Mark Milley furiously making calls that day. Didn't contact Kamala Harris, Mitch McConnell. No one's concerned that pipe bomb was found outside of her location. Why does nobody know what Kamala Harris was up to at the DNC that day? It is the single most important question. Brett, if you can, ask it, because no one has had the guts to ask her this question. What were you doing at the DNC during the most important moment of your life at the Capitol, the certification of you as the vice president-elect? Why were you there? That's what I'd ask. I'll be watching it tonight. We'll cover it tomorrow.
The FBI has released new videos in hopes of identifying a mystery suspect who planted 2 pipe bombs the night before the Capitol riot. Pete, what's the aim in putting out these videos?
Leicester FBI agents say they have no idea who planted the bombs, and they hope these new videos will generate some valuable tips. One shows the suspect walking up and sitting on a park bench near the Democratic National Party headquarters. One of the bombs was later planted in this same area.
Frames per second, like its name implies, is the number of individual images, or frames, the system captures every second. The average industry frame rate of most CCTV cameras is around 15 frames per second.
We also recommend using a minimum of 15 FPS, or frames per second.
Now here at Proactive Security, we recommend actually 15 frames per second.
What you're looking at is the actual frame speed of the security video the FBI released to the public of the January 6th pipe bomb suspect. It's just 1 frame per second. You're going to learn now why that is virtually impossible, unless this tape is not the original source footage. A comprehensive study in 2021 by one of the world's leading authorities on security cameras found that 0% of cameras in use in America today operate at just 1 frame per second. Statistically speaking, the odds that the video the FBI released to the public was unaltered is less than 1%. The average gas station in America uses 15 frames per second. That would make the DNC national headquarters 15 times worse than the average gas station. Meanwhile, we know the DNC cares so much about security at this area that for years they have stationed a physical guard during the daytime right at this site. And that makes sense. It was the break-in of the DNC national headquarters 50 years ago that caused the largest scandal in American history, Watergate. between the history of attacks on the DNC building, plus the fact that DC was once the murder capital of the country, plus the fact that 0% of cameras in use today use 1 frame per second, it is virtually impossible the tape the FBI released was the actual unedited footage.
You recently met with Capitol Police.
Correct. Today.
And what did you learn in that meeting?
I learned that backpack guy, January 6th backpack guy, not to be confused with January 5th backpack person, backpack guy was a non-uniform, plainclothes police officer in the employ of the Capitol Hill Police.
The person who found the pipe bomb, the person who, D'Antuono, who was leading the investigation, say, oh yeah, the person who found it, it'd be investigation 101 that they would be a suspect initially until ruled out. You're saying that person was an undercover, plainclothes Capitol Police officer, and the Capitol Police confirmed that to you today?
They confirmed that to me today, yes. So, by the way,
what does that mean to you?
Well, it heightens some of my concerns and reduces some of the other concerns. Okay, one of the concerns that's heightened was, trying to give the Secret Service and the Metro Police Department the benefit of the doubt when they took 4 minutes. They finished their lunch before they went and dealt with this pipe bomb. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that, well, if it's just some random passerby and he said, hey, there's something shiny over there, could be a lawn sprinkler, not sure, maybe want to check it out. But that's not what it was. It was a person who was, they say, again, when I relate this to you, I'm relating what the Capitol Police have told me. They say it was a Capitol Police officer who found this bomb and that he told them it was a bomb. He radioed it in, said, We've got the device. We found another device. Remember, here's the other just amazing timing, is that the first pipe bomb, the one at the Capitol Hill Club, now they call it the RNC pipe bomb, but they really should be calling it the Capitol Hill pipe bomb. I mean, the two buildings are next to each other, but it was like...
The Capitol Hill Club, which is an entity where Republican members of Congress socialize and fundraise.
Right. The reason I'm making that distinction is Darren Beatty, who's done amazing work on this. Okay, he's the guy who's said, hey, you should be asking some of these questions. And I said, you know what, you're right. I will be asking those questions. He points out that the RNC-DNC narrative was made up after the fact. It was really the Capitol Hill Club DNC narrative that they should be talking about, but it just sounds a lot better that, oh, we knew to go look at the DNC once we found one at the RNC.
Interesting.
Well, if you thought somebody was going to blow up the RNC, and don't they hate Republicans? Why would they also want to blow up? Anyways, so, they come down, this plainclothes police officer who had been in the vicinity of that one, they had just found that. The timing is remarkable because it was found 5 minutes before the breach of the bicycle racks at the perimeter of the Capitol. Just a miraculous timing that would have provided exactly the right timing to distract. After sitting in an alley for 17 hours, found by somebody who says she was going to go do her laundry. Okay, then they respond to that, they secure the area, and 15 minutes later they find this other bomb. Like, what miraculous timing.
Well, I definitely don't believe that the Capitol Police would purposefully go and set a bomb anywhere that could potentially blow up and do anyone harm. I am not there that they would do something like that. However, you seem to point out in questioning with the ATF director that this wasn't an operational bomb that was going to blow up and hurt anybody. Remember that?
Right. The assistant director in charge, he went on TV and said these were operable bombs and, offered a reward, put out a message that they played on TV. And so in the beginning of my transcribed interview with him, he still maintained that they were operable.
Well, hold on. We're going to get the ATF director's take on that, questioning from Congressman Massey. Take a listen.
Also, I see that you're cooperating with the FBI, the ATF is, on the January 6th pipe bomb investigation. What can you tell us about how that's going?
Obviously, that's a significant matter. It is an ongoing criminal investigation, and so I'm not going to comment on an ongoing criminal investigation.
Were those pipe bombs operable?
Again,
The ATF is the expert.
Again, it's an ongoing criminal investigation, and under longstanding policy, I cannot comment.
And we've just had a whole committee for 2 years that investigated ongoing investigations, so I'm not accepting that answer from you. We need to know these things. Do you know how the pipe bomb was discovered at the DNC? We've been told how it was discovered at the RNC, and according to a press release from the FBI, you're working with them on this investigation.
Respectfully, I understand your disagreement, but I cannot comment because it is an ongoing criminal investigation.
It's an ongoing cover-up.
So helpful.
It's their policy not to comment on ongoing cover-ups.
Yeah,
But-
it seems like it.
So here's what I've come to know since that interview too. You chase some leads. I believe, based on discussions with police, with FBI, and with former ATF, who now works for Capitol Police, that the bombs went to Quantico for inspection, not to the ATF. Now, he could have just told me that in the hearing, right?
Oh, interesting.
He could have said, well, we didn't look at the fragments after we blew these things up. It was actually FBI at Quantico looked at them. But he wouldn't even tell me that. So he either doesn't know it or just is so stuck on it like a broken record on it's our longstanding policy not to comment.
So we're in this meeting last night, and one of our Republican colleagues turns to you as you're explaining how long it's been that this has been an open investigation, these videos that show the strange behavior of a person we now know was a plainclothes Capitol Police officer. And one of our Republican colleagues kept pressing you and saying, but Thomas, why would they do this? Why would anyone try to plant these phony fake devices in order to create confusion that day? And we don't know the answer to that question, in all honesty. Do you have a working theory?
Yeah, well, again, I don't know who did it, but I can tell you a consequence of this, because this is buried in the back of the January 6th committee report, that there was a call to bring more bike racks to the Capitol. They had hundreds of them loaded up, ready to bring to the Capitol, to reinforce the Capitol. And it turns out those never made it because this DNC pipe bomb was discovered, and they set up a perimeter and blocked them from coming.
So if there was a booby trap intended to have people commit a technical violation of federal criminal law with no intent to break the law, that was facilitated perhaps by the very interestingly timed discovery of these two devices.
Yeah, whether there was intent or not, the result of this, according to the January 6th committee, was that it made it easier to breach the Capitol because the reinforcements couldn't be brought to the Capitol.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel with notifications turned on. You won't want to miss any of the breaking news.
You both had an early view at some of the anger and disinformation that would come to drive President Trump supporters to Washington on January 6th. And let's start with that. Janelle, I'd like to hear from you what you saw early on that really made you alarmed. And particularly, can you describe how President Trump's December 19th tweet to "Be there, be wild" changed the threat landscape? How did that activate extremists online?
Well, what we saw before the 19th was really a lot of the same threat information and intelligence that we had seen in October, November. It was the same groups basically sharing the same information about coming to the district. There were planned events. There was a lot of activity. After the tweet, however, we saw an exponential rise, not only in the number of individuals that were looking to come to DC to demonstrate, but also the level, the talk of violence. We saw many what we call threats of concern, posts of concern rather, with threatening information. And as we got closer and closer, we saw them sharing information, tactics, techniques, and procedures, we call them TTPs, that would lend itself to essentially an attack.
of footage, whereas this footage from the Capitol Police is groundbreaking and actually advances our understanding of one of the most sensitive aspects of what I've come to call the Fedsurrection. Actually, Massey had to put tremendous pressure on people, including Kevin McCarthy, and ultimately he was able to get this 7-minute clip released to the public. And you'll see why this is such a big deal right now as I begin to describe it.
So we'll put the B-roll up. So as you're going here, we're going to have accompanying B-roll. So please continue, Darren. Guys, start playing the clip here. I don't know if you can see it, Darren, or not, but let's start playing it, guys. Darren, please continue.
Okay, so the timestamp also corresponds to the timing of the day. So we see 1:05 p.m. You notice there's an individual who walks up to an SUV. That's a Metro PD SUV. He's talking in the window at the driver's side. Eventually, he'll loop around to the other side of the vehicle, talk a little bit more. And then finally, he'll go to the black SUV and talk with them a little bit. So what are those cars? Well, the white car is a Metro PD SUV, but it's actually there in the capacity of working with the Secret Service detail. So the black car is Secret Service. The Metro PD is working as Secret Service. You know, sometimes local police join the motorcades for Secret Service. And that's what that is here. The protectee in this instance, and this will be important later, happens to be then VP-elect Kamala Harris. So after this individual informs these two cars of the presence of the pipe bomb, and he's walking out of frame right here toward the right here. He just walked out of frame. He just informed those guys of the pipe bomb. Now, the first thing that's kind of strange is it's going to take them over a minute to even get out of the car after having been informed of a pipe bomb within feet of them and within feet of their protectee. That alone is kind of strange, to see them wait over a minute to even get out of the car. Once they get out of the car, you'll see them lounging about in the most bizarrely lackadaisical fashion imaginable, given the circumstances. Again, does this look like how a Secret Service of the United States would react to the information that there is a pipe bomb, potentially live explosive device within feet of them, within feet of passersby, and within feet of their protectee, who is the VP-elect? They're just lounging around out without a care in the world. This remarkable lack of concern reaches its conclusion in a group of children crossing the street right in the direction of the bomb. And look at that. They're standing around like it's nothing. They allow that group of kids to walk, probably no more than 15 feet away from the bomb, and they themselves are lounging about. So there's an incredible lack of concern for the children's safety, for their own safety, and for the safety of their protectee, Kamala Harris, that shows that either they're the most negligent and detail in the world that violates protocol, that don't even care about their own safety, or more likely, they knew that the bomb was fake. They knew that the bomb was inert. They knew the bomb was a dud. But then the question arises, how did they know it was a dud? Now,
are these local DC police or are these federal law enforcement Secret Service? Can you just...
Well, this is a combination of Capitol Police, Metro PD, and Secret Service. Now, if we go back to the video, we'll see that after they allow that group of children to cross the street and get within feet of the pipe bomb, the last relevant thing here is we're going to see a Capitol Police officer then walk right up to the bomb and take a picture of it. So this is the clip of the children walking by. And shortly thereafter, somewhere in the 1:10-minute mark, we're going to see a Capitol Police officer walk up to the bomb, take a picture. He's going to give a thumbs up sign, and then they're going to move more quickly than we've ever seen them before and get the heck out of there. So hopefully we can see that clip. That's in the thread as well. So once you find it, it would be good for the audience to see that.
We'll get that.
But yes, that's the final clip. We have a Capitol Police officer walking right up to it, taking a picture. He gives a thumbs up sign like that and leaves the frame. They all scramble about. They leave. Again, this is the the quickest they've moved in the whole thing to get out of there after the guy took a picture. And then the video stops. But I can say something pretty bizarre that happens after this footage ends, just minutes after.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
The authorities, the authorities get a bomb-safe robot to then defuse and dismantle this pipe bomb. This is the bomb that they exhibited zero concern for themselves, zero concern for their protectee, Kamala Harris, zero concern for the children that they allowed to walk right by it without a warning in the world. And yet it all of a sudden becomes so dangerous after they've taken this photo of it and the initial detail left. It all of a sudden becomes so dangerous, there he is. He's taking a picture. Look at this. See that? Snaps the photo. He's going to give thumbs up. Then he leaves. That's what I was just talking about. Then they all scramble and, get out.
Tell me about this FBI announcement today. They came out, they did a big dog and pony show, gave us some photos of the gun, the backpack, and the air conditioning unit. Did you really learn that much from what was announced today?
No, Jesse, we didn't learn that much today, and I'm honestly not surprised. But here's the deal. The big issue the FBI has, and you just talked about it in your opening, is whether or not the American people, whether or not we trust what they actually say. This is the same organization that went after Catholics, wouldn't investigate the Hunter Biden laptop, went after parents at school board meetings, and also couldn't find the January 6th pipe bomber, Jesse. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't believe their narrative about the January 6th pipe bomber for a second. And Dan Bongino told myself and several other members of Congress just this week in Washington, D.C., that when this story breaks about the January 6th pipe bomber, what really happened, it's going to be the biggest scandal in Washington, D.C.'s history.
You should know that the first pipe bomb was discovered just minutes before the first assault on the Capitol at 1 p.m. Capitol Hill police were notified of the bomb at 12:49 p.m. Protesters at the Capitol swarmed the first police line at 12:50. That's 1 minute later. The chief of Capitol Police at the time, Stephen Sund, later told the Washington Post he believed the pipe bombs were not designed to kill people. They were meant to draw law enforcement away from the Capitol. They were designed to be found, not to explode. In the words of Capitol Hill Police Inspector General, quote, if those pipe bombs were intended to be a diversion, it worked. Now that would make sense, since the bombs themselves could not have been detonated on January 6th. The bombs were planted the night before, 17 hours before they were found. Yet the timers on the bombs were of the ancient kitchen clock variety. They could only be set to an hour maximum. The bombs had no remote detonation function. So effectively, by January 6th, they were inert. What's strange is that of all the places in the world Kamala Harris could have gone at 11:30 a.m. on January 6th, she went to the DNC building, where her bodyguards promptly discovered the pipe bomb. So if the bomb was planted by a Trump supporter as a diversion, as the Capitol Police have said, you've got to wonder how exactly that worked. Would a Trump supporter have known where Kamala Harris was going to?
So, on the subject of transparency, January 6th, there were there's a single attempted act of violence where the 2 pipe bombs at the Democrat and Republican headquarters. The government released a picture of the pipe bomber sitting on a bench, talking on a cell phone. It was time-stamped. We know there's video cameras probably every 5 feet in D.C. Right. Why haven't they announced who the pipe bomber is?
Well, maybe he's a federal employee. Maybe. Maybe.
Clear on Twitter. some detectives on Twitter, I think, were pretty clear that it was obvious who it was. Well, can't they just tell the truth?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think if President Trump is elected, we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of these things.
Together with new yet entirely overlooked information that has come out as a result of a recent Judicial Watch FOIA request, lead us to believe with a high degree of conviction that Ashan M. Benedict is one of the key cover-up men of the entire January 6th pipe bomb hoax.